that means it's time for another episode of the M Cluster. Tonight with me we have Brandon.
Hi, guys.
And we have Amina.
Yo.
And tonight we're going to be discussing the movie Clerks, which is one of my personal favorites. And this was my pick, so I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. Clerks is not your conventional movie. It was made in 1994. It was a black and white film. It was made for $28,000 by a person who had never made anything before, Kevin Smith. And it is by far one of my favorites of this type of genre of independent film because it is just completely relatable to people of my age group. It highlights the slacker mentality, and and as I wrote earlier this week, it's like I may not live the life of a slacker, but I can certainly sympathize with that lifestyle. And what we have is we have two people that are in their early 20s. They're working in a nowhere job. They're just trying to make things work out, and they complain about their life all the time. But they don't do anything to change it, which is kind of a very big trend with the people of those age during that time. And they highlight very different aspects of it. You've got the lead character who's called Dante, and he never turns his phone off. But what happens is he's stuck in this dead-end job. He's having problems with his love life. He can't decide what he wants to do with his life, and just bitches and bitches and bitches. And then we have Randall, who is completely content with this lifestyle. He just kind of takes it day to day. And they just go through some of the most interesting, in my opinion, conversations about life. And even it's this very dull, mundane setting, the conversations, as profane as they are very intelligent. And it's something I've always really appreciated about the way Kevin Smith makes his films. All of his writing about the dumbest things, are just really highbrow. So it's a movie that's centered on the characters, on the conversation, on the banter. There's not a whole lot of action. There's not a whole lot of special effects or cinematography or anything like that. It's all about the characters. So it's just something I've really enjoyed. What do you guys think of the film?
You gonna go first?
Go ahead, Brandon.
All right. I had actually not seen Clerks 1 prior to this past week. I had seen Clerks 2, and I've seen other Kevin Smith films, but I have not sat down and actually watched Clerks. I was kind of pleasantly surprised, although surprised at just, I don't know, at how old it is, I guess. Just because I'm not the same generation.
Right.
So.
Mina?
I don't like this movie.
Really? Why not?
I don't like it. And I like Mallrats. Mallrats is one of my favorite Kevin Smith movies, but in this movie, it's just I don't relate to any of these people. It's kind of depressing. It's like these people make terrible decisions and they just keep making them, and I don't feel sorry for any of them. I don't care what happens to these people. I just don't. I'm like, you did this to yourselves. Just whatever.
I feel a little sorry for Dante. I mean, Randall's kind of a dickhead, but
Dante makes terrible decisions. It's like there's one girl that might have done some strange things to a number of people, but she brings you lasagna to work, and then you have the other chick who's repeatedly cheated on you, but you want that one? I don't feel bad for him at all, but I mean the dialogue is great. It's very intelligent dialogue, and it's the kind of conversations you want to have with all of your friends. It's that level of it, but just the mixture of just characters that you don't care about, and it just is. There's nothing interesting about it to me.
You're telling me that you didn't feel the felt for Silent Bob as they were out there doing their thing?
The Silent Bob character. Okay, I like the Silent Bob character a lot, but and the acting. The acting is. Now I understand it's a $28,000 movie and all that, but I really tried to not pay attention very much to the terrible acting, but it was right there.
The acting is horrible, and
yes.
Some of the interesting things about this is like these are just a group of Kevin Smith's friends that did this. that convenience store was actually where he worked at the time he was making the film. And some of the dialogue delivery is atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a good film in terms of the way it's made. Okay, so this is not like, this isn't Spielberg. The way they made this film is like, it's very amateur hour, but and I think that says something about the strength of the writing. The fact that the dialogue is so intelligent, and there is a good chance that had anyone else written this movie, I'd feel the way you do. I just hate it. And everything you're saying about the characters, I find kind of interesting, because that was his point. We're not supposed to feel bad for these people. They do make horrible decisions. We're supposed to go, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you so stupid?
It's just kind of a downer. It's like I don't feel myself needing to watch this movie very often.
Oh man, I love watching this movie. And as a matter of fact, this time around, I actually watched a different version of it. I watched one called The First Cut, where they take out the funeral scene when they find out that one of their friends has passed away, and they replace it with a animated scene, which is, I guess, the way they originally wanted to do it, but it was just a little too over the top. And in this scene, they talk about how Dante got caught with the girl in a risque situation, and he doesn't want to talk to the parents, and Randall's just egging him on like as he normally does, and he's like, you know what, Andrew, why don't you just go wait in the car? So he tosses the keys. Well, of course, Randall doesn't catch the keys. Instead, they go into the coffin and somehow end up in the girl's pants.
Oh, jeez.
So now they're like, all right, what do we do? And so he kneels down like he's going to pray, and Randall's like rubbing his shoulders so that he can cover up what he's doing, and he shoves his hand down this girl's pants trying to get the keys. And of course, they're in an awkward position, so he has to like move around.
Wow.
And finally the father comes over, catches the guy who they've previously caught violating their daughter when she was alive, now with his hands down her pants in the coffin.
Pretty sure that's a felony.
I mean, it is an awesome scene, and I can understand why they didn't film it. And then they cut back to them running out of the house, and like they do in the regular film. But yeah, I mean, I loved watching this version of the film. It's just, everything is so wrong, and the things that they focus on, like he mentioned 37 dicks, right? They're having this conversation, which all couples have at some point. It's like, oh, how many girls have you slept with? How many guys have you slept with? And her answer is 3. And he's like, oh, you slept with 3 guys, and they talk about it a little bit, and then his answer is 12, and she gets all pissed off, calls him a dick, and he's a pig and all this other stuff. And then comes to find out she doesn't consider oral sex.
Yeah. Totally different, apparently.
Yeah.
Neither does Bill Clinton. It's fine.
So when he finds out that she's gone down on 36 people before him, he just has this big meltdown, and it's just a very funny thing to watch. He's like, you sucked 37 dicks? One of the ones that she'd been with was the guy that had walked into the store as one of the customers. So just this very awkward conversation. And eventually he gets over it, as most couples do. But then Randall just has to turn the screw. When she comes back and they're having a conversation, he's in the background going.
Yeah, Randall's that jerk friend that everyone has to have.
Yeah.
And that's why I like this movie, because I know these people. I've been some of these people at some point. I remember when we were in college, I got my buddy in trouble because I thought he was cheating on his girlfriend. Because I came home, there was a car in the driveway of a girl that I thought I knew, and I thought they were in their room. And then later on, he shows up with his actual girlfriend, and when she was in the room, I asked him very quietly, I'm not trying to get him in trouble, I'm just like, what is your car doing here? I thought you were here. And she overheard us, and that started a big fight. So I've been in these situations,
Good job.
I know, I understand it, and it's just, the Star Wars conversation. I think that is one of the most epic conversations ever, and this is a conversation that I've had with my friends.
I've had that conversation too.
Yep.
And
that exact conversation.
Yes, and it's just so stupid, But yet it's something you really have to think about, and have opinions on, and. They take it to the next level. A contractor walks in, he's like, "Oh, I'm a roofer."
Oh, that's what I mean. That exact, like, I had that kind of conversation.
Yeah, I didn't know any roofers at the time, but and I think this movie, for people of my generation anyway, actually made us aspire to have these types of conversations. Where we would talk about maybe the mundanest thing you could talk about, just on a really highbrow level. Sometimes it's just to be stupid and silly. But, I personally think just that type of interaction with my friends and having it popularized like that on film actually enriched my life. So it's more than just, I like the way the film was done. I enjoy the fact that he's highlighted things that I experience, maybe not daily, but all the time in my life. So... I can sympathize with you, Amina, on how you don't...
I just don't get out much, I guess, because I never... This didn't happen to me.
That's so not true. You and I have been involved in conversations like these.
Well, we had conversations like this, but, I don't know these people really very much.
Well, yeah, the slackers, yeah, because they're total underachievers, and, they're... Those specific people are a very distinct set of people. But I mean, that type of... interaction with your friends is what I meant.
Oh yeah.
These people, as ridiculous as some of this stuff that goes on, are still friends. They still know each other, and everything that happens throughout the course of the movie furthers their relationships and clarifies their perspectives. And I think, as poorly as this film is made visually and technically, the theme and the progression of the film is completely artful.
Oh yeah, I mean, I certainly couldn't do anything like this, and you have to hand it to Kevin Smith for taking a $28,000 movie and getting $3 million for it.
Yeah, and that's another thing, is just being introduced to Kevin Smith as a personality has been just a joy. I listen to that dude just telling stories. He tells just some of the best stories. He actually does a lecture circuit called An Evening with Kevin Smith, and I'm hoping he's going to be in Orlando this year. I haven't checked. But where he just tells stories about, making this movie and different movies that he's been involved with and projects that he worked on that didn't come to fruition. I mean, this guy lived that life that's in the film. And, even though it's on a very different level because he's a filmmaker now, so, he's talking about, dealing with Hollywood executives and actors and stuff like that. But, he is not the typical Hollywood guy, right? And one of the things he always says is, he's like, I'm always worried that, somebody wants me to do some work for them that, they don't know a whole much about me, and then they're going to look at it and go, we gave our multi-million-dollar franchise to the Clerks guy, and that's just, he's very self-deprecating, and, just, I like the film, I like him, dude, I have no complaints.
No complaints?
No complaints. This movie's crappy, and it's wonderful.
Did you enjoy Clerks 2?
I did enjoy Clerks 2. A very different film, and it's an interesting segue because it no longer is really... This movie's kind of semi-autobiographical, about the life that Kevin Smith leads, and then it just kind of goes off into fiction. So... And the transition is well done. And Clerks 2 is obviously a much more refined film in the terms of the filmmaking process. But the actors are the same actors. The dialogue is the same type of dialogue. Although it's clear, like Jason Mewes, night and day in terms of their performance. There's one scene where Jason Mewes delivers a line so poorly that even though it doesn't, I don't dislike it, it hurts me to hear him say it. When he's talking to the the guy who's supposedly a Russian metal singer, right? And it almost sounds like he's reading off of a cue card, and is not a very good reader. It's that bad.
Yeah.
So to see him in Clerks 2 and the performance that he gives there, Oscar worthy compared to.
Oh yeah, because he had Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and all that in between there. So
Yeah, so and that's kind of another thing is to see these characters. They are all obviously older. They've all changed in some way, except for their kind of lifestyle. They're awful choice making.
This movie did it for them.
What's that?
Didn't this movie do it for them?
Well, yeah. There was the opening of Clerks 2 is when the quick stop burns down.
Yeah.
So they're forced to find another job, and of course they go and find another mundane job. They start working at was it Movies, which is I think we're first introduced to that in Dogma.
Movies Golden Calf.
Yes.
Well, there is one reference in or not, at least probably more, but anyways, in Mallrats, I think they mentioned the friend dying, or the girl died that they went to the funeral to in Clerks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they talk about her.
Adams, yeah.
Yes.
But wouldn't that have had to have been the same day then?
I know they're pretty close in time frame, yeah.
Yeah, Mallrats and Clerks. It would have almost had to have been the same day if they were talking about her dying.
Yeah, because Joey Lauren, whatever her name is, she was like on her way to the funeral or something.
Oh yes, that's right. That's correct. So yeah, it's either the same day or very, very close to it.
Which is weird because Jay and Silent Bob are in both. So they're at the mall and at the quick stop.
Yeah, but the mall is just like right around the corner, there's some interesting stuff too in terms of the character. Like Dante is very, I don't want to say conservative, but he's afraid to make decisions. And he gets roped into working on a day that he's supposed to be off. He has a hockey game that day. And then he closes the store to play the hockey game, which is kind of a ballsy move. It's something you don't expect from him. So what they're showing us with this is that he has the capability of making these choices, of doing bold things, and just doesn't.
Well, he's like, he made a bold decision, but it was also a bad decision too. I mean, who plays hockey on the roof of a Quick Mart?
I would have just played in front of it.
It's
I would have closed the store. I would have closed the store, but I would have
played in front of it. Yeah.
No, we've actually played.
Did you lose your ball in 15 minutes like they did?
No, we did not, but we almost fell off the edge a couple times.
See, that's even worse.
If you make ballsy decisions, you have to have good planning too.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a good decision, but and then what you'd mentioned Clerks 2. What's great about that film, in my opinion, is he makes the decision. He finally he's breaking out of this monotony. He's found a woman that he thinks he's going to marry. He is going to leave the place that he's been pretty much his whole life, and do something different. And in the course of making these decisions and breaking out of that mold, what he learns is he's exactly where he wants to be. Him and Randall have that conversation. He's like, we should reopen the Quick Mart ourselves, and that's what they end up doing. It turns out all that time, all that complaining, he was exactly where he wanted to be, and he just didn't know it. And I think that's a good way to wrap up that story. Now they're talking about making a Clerks 3. I don't see how. I don't know where that story would go. Number one, and
nowhere.
I've heard a rumor that it's a prequel. And I don't see how they could possibly do a prequel with the same characters unless they replace all the actors.
They'd have to replace the actors.
That or make it animated. Because Clerks the animated series was quite popular.
Well, at least they didn't stick to the original ending of Clerks, and because then they wouldn't be able to do any of these movies. Right.
You want to talk to that a little bit?
In the original ending that Kevin Smith made and presented to, I think, the Sundance people, at the end where Dante's closing shop and Randall walks out, as soon as Randall leaves, someone walks into the store and shoots Dante dead. And the final shot is, Dante's dead face.
Yeah.
Yeah. but
Yeah,
it was deemed a little too much of a downer.
Ah, that would be too much of a downer. That would suck.
Yeah, Dante was supposed to die.
yeah.
Now, see, if they had that, that would make me hate this movie then.
And luckily they didn't do that, right? So that is an example of a poor decision that Kevin Smith made.
Oh,
Really,
wow,
pretty
yeah.
much Kevin Smith is Dante, right? And so obviously somebody stopped him.
Yeah, he actually got advice from two of his Hollywood friends
Right.
that suggested he not do that.
But and I just think it's a really wonderful slice of life film. It's a downer. It's just I don't even know what word to use to talk about the dreariness of the film, and I think it says something about. And I'm going to get a little. I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but just something about the human spirit, that their interactions and their ability to tough that situation out overcomes that dreariness. As horrible as things go, at the end of the day, they're still living their lives. They're still, happy. They're maybe not in a better situation, but they're certainly keeping above board.
Right.
So I just think that's a wonderful way to do it. And I would like them to do something. If they're going to do a Clerks 3, I hope it's something completely different, because I think they tied up that story really well in Clerks 2 by having him reopen the Quick Mart.
Yeah, but if it's going to be a prequel, then...
Yeah, then I don't know what the hell it's going to be about.
Maybe them initially getting the jobs.
If it's going to be them in high school. It's going to be Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else they would do that. But it is Kevin Smith, so we'll see. He might come up with something totally off the wall that he likes experimental filmmaking. And we haven't talked about Jay and Silent Bob at all. That's a fucking whacked out movie.
I like the movie.
It's a strange movie.
But
I like those characters a lot.
I like stupid movies like that, though. Like Your Highness, and just those kinds of movies. So Jay and Silent Bob was perfect.
Yeah, I'm not really into movies like that, and I like Jay and Silent Bob, but this was just a little too much of them.
Yeah, that was too much. I like Dogma, and I like Mallrats is one of my favorite movies, but Jay and Silent Bob was just a little.
Yes, Dante, Your Highness.
And it's just Jay and Silent Bob are those over-the-top, larger-than-life characters that I think every group of friends have, and sort of visualize them as being this, but in this case, they're actually those people. I mean, I know we had some friends when I was in high school that we just thought were, like just these crazy, insane, over-the-top personalities, but, as we got older and looked back at them, it's like, really, they're just kind of, a couple of dorks like we were. They just happened to get themselves into some idiotic situations. And luckily none of them were drug dealers. Well, no, some of them were. But
yeah.
But it's just this. The thing about this movie is, I feel like I could walk into it and understand everything that's going on, because I understand these kinds of people.
Yeah, I relate to them.
And it's a shame, that you don't.
See, I would walk in there and just want to punch these people.
Well, didn't you want to punch some of the people before that we've known?
I have friends that are these people.
I know. But and it's just, and I'm starting to get repetitive because I don't know what else to say about it. I really like this movie, and I want to see Kevin Smith do some more work. I'd like to see him actually get some more traditional work. Like one of the things that I tell people about all the time is he got to work on the Superman Lives script, and that was the one that Nick Cage was supposed to be in.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he went to they were looking for writers to do a rewrite, and they hired him. they gave him the script. He takes it home. He's just like, man, this is awful. This is bad. It's like, did somebody's cousin write this? Like he actually said, he's like, can you get your money back, for what you paid this guy? And the studio executives kind of went, okay, all right, thanks for coming in. And he thought that was the end of it. Well, they called him back like 7 days in a row. They kept making him come back. And every time he went back, there were like more people in the room till they got to the, the bigwigs of the studio. And he's telling them the same thing over and over. This script sucks. It's, it's awful. It's dreary. It's, get your money back, blah, blah, blah. Right? So the bigwig, the studio exec, finally says to him, what would you do different? So he pitches his ideas, and he gets hired for the rewrite. But they already hired a producer, and the producer has some constraints that he has to work within. So he has to meet with the producer, and he starts telling this story about he had to write an outline, and his outline was 84 pages. And the producer likes to have the outlines read to him, so he had to go read these 84 pages to the producer. God. And so he's talking about, it's like Kal-El this, Kal-El that, and the producer kind of stops him and says, "Who the fuck's Kal-El?" He's like, "Oh, that's Superman's Kryptonian name." He's like, "Oh, okay,"
Have you seen the pictures of Nicolas Cage in his Superman outfit?
I have not.
I have. It's awesome.
Special.
But this guy has, he wanted to hire Sean Penn to play Superman. And that was kind of Kevin Smith's response was like, what? And he's like, have you seen Sean Penn? He's like, he has the eyes of a killer. And Kevin Smith's like, yeah, but this is Superman,
Superman's not a killer.
Yeah. And as they go on, they're just discussing this. It's clear that this guy knows nothing about Superman, right? The producer, and I can't remember his name at the moment. But Kevin Smith goes back to the studio execs. He's like, "Oh, it went well," and they ask him, "He's like, did he talk to you about the spider? Because he wants to have this giant spider in the movie."
Oh, okay, I know this story. And then he ends up doing Wild Wild West.
He ends up doing Wild Wild West, which has a giant mechanical spider in it. So I'd actually like to see him get attached to a project like that and do some work on it. I think he'd do really well. It's like same way I was happy that Joss Whedon got his shot.
Maybe they'll do it with the some of the smaller heroes that they're going to do movies for in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, we'll see. Or maybe some of the standalone Star Wars stuff. Because he's a big Star Wars geek.
That's a different discussion.
Hey, it'd be better than J.J. Abrams. Just saying.
Who knows? What if he's going to do those two? What if he's going to do those two?
Oh, see, you camera fail. You said you're like J.J. Abrams. Oh, you fail.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I liked it. Brandon liked it. Amina sort of didn't like it a lot.
No.
And, so I think we've wrapped that one up. So we're going to go ahead and get Dante to pick our next film.
Yeah,
Here we go, Dante.
Well, yeah. While he's doing that, I'm glad that they did not put that ending. That really would have made me hate the movie.
Yeah, that's a downer.
Is I supposed to be here today?
Yeah. And he would not have. It was unfair because he wasn't supposed to be there that day. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Let's see. Okay, we have
fuzzy number.
Something 14.
No, 74.
74.
Oh, 74.
Oh, 74.
And that is. My streak continues.
Jose's a streaker.
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles. Da-da-da-da-da. One of my favorite animated movies of all time, and the very first DVD I ever paid full price for. I always waited till they made it to like the $5 bit. I paid $20 for that movie.
It's a decent movie.
We're gonna fight because it's not decent. It's awesome. And you would like it. You would like it.
I've seen it. I've seen it a couple times.
So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Next week we got The Incredibles. On behalf of Brandon, Amina, Dante, and everybody else who's not watching our show tonight because The Walking Dead is on, that's a wrap.
Oscars.
Hey guys, thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Or if you want to follow along with our antics when we're not in front of the camera, you can check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Google+, or Twitter by searching for the M Cluster. Or you can leave comments in the field below. Or you can send us an email or give us a call. Heck, you can even write us a letter. Or you can buy us dinner. Or you could buy us a car. That would be awesome. Or you could send us on vacation. Or get us an Emmy. Ooh, a Tony. If you could get us a Tony, that would